Hello, everyone, and welcome to Next Generation Saints. I'm your host, Nick Coons. Before we get started today, I want to go ahead and remind everyone to like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you may be listening to it. It really helps to get out there in the algorithm, and it's been doing great work. This podcast is continuously growing, so I want to say thank you to all my listeners. If you've already subscribed to this podcast and liked it, thank you so much. I hope I never let you down on all this stuff. And if you haven't yet liked and subscribed to it, you want to be one of the cool kids in the world, you know? One of those popular ones, go ahead and like and subscribe to the podcast. Seriously, I actually checked it. It's scientifically proven to make you look cooler. I know. So anyways, to jump into this, there's apparently been an update on the war in the Middle East, and it's not about Hamas, Hezbollah, or Israel, the war going on. It's actually about us. Now, the news is reporting this, so I'm going to read it out to you, and then I'm going to discuss it. Israeli-Hamas war. In a rare move, United States announces entry of nuclear submarine into the Middle East. That's right, you heard me correctly. Not just nuclear powered, but nukes, nuclear warheads on board. Amid the Israel-Hamas war, the U.S. military announced the entry of a guided missile submarine into the Middle East. A rare move directed at regional adversaries, primarily those backed by Iran. The subs can be equipped with advanced ballistic and Tomahawk cruise missiles. So let's see here. I love advertisements. The U.S. Central Command on Sunday, November 5th, declared on social media that an Ohio-class submarine entered its area of responsibility, even as Secretary of State Anthony Blinken toured the region. Blinken has so far visited Israel, the West Bank, Turkey, Iraq, Jordan, and Cyprus. In his second trip to the region since the outbreak of the Israeli-Hamas war. The Ohio class is a set of nuclear-powered submarines that can carry up to 24 Trident II D5 nuclear missiles. Now, that sounds all fancy, so let's take a look. What exactly is that? Well, the Trident missile that they're talking about has a maximum speed of 13,000 miles per hour. Now, to put that in perspective here, that would be Mach 24. Now, that might seem like, okay, it sounds pretty high. It sounds pretty quick. All right. So I made a little comparison here to compare it to something that's faster, but relatively within a couple thousand miles an hour, about the same speed. The International Space Station flies above our head in low Earth orbit, goes 17,500 miles an hour. So a Trident is going 13,000 miles an hour. Now, I was interested about how far can it hit. Well, its maximum... about maximum average distance. You know, the military is kind of quiet about all that, but they'll give you kind of approximate. The approximate distance that it can hit a target is 7,000 miles away. That's pretty hardcore. My goodness. It's not usual for the U.S. So continuing on with this article, it is not usual for the U.S. to announce the movement of strategic assets like submarines in the area. Well, duh. The United States usually doesn't tell you anything about where the submarine is. I've watched many documentaries, and whenever they ask, they say, hey, where's it going? They go, it's a undisclosed location for an undisclosed amount of time. Now, really quick, a little history, something I've learned about submarines is submarines, especially nuclear-powered submarines, which is pretty much our entire Navy, when it comes down to submariners, can pretty much stay underwater almost indefinitely. The nuclear fuel on board the submarines lasts about 25 years, and they produce their own electricity, water, and oxygen. So, excuse me, the only thing that really keeps them, the only reason they have to surface is because, well, sailors got to eat food, and unfortunately, nuclear reactors do not produce edible material of nutritional quality or taste quality. They don't. So therefore, they have to come up to the surface to resupply. However, So that is it's kind of funny because when I watch these documentaries, they were talking about, before it was about submarines used to be diesel powered, so you could, and they had a gigantic battery in them along with the torpedoes and whatever weaponry they had. So you can go down underwater, but your batteries can only last for so long. You'd have to come up to the surface, fire up your diesel engine, and then power from the surface going forward. And that diesel engine, apart from driving the motor to push you forward, also charged the batteries. So you're limited by a lot of different factors. Battery life, how much diesel fuel you had, look at how much water you had on board, fresh water to drink, and food, of course, being an issue. But now with these submarines, you don't have many of those issues. Like I said, the only issue we really have there is how much food do you have on board. So the U.S. announcing that a Ohio-class nuclear-powered submarine, not even that, but also carrying, is completely uncommon. That doesn't happen. We're basically sending this strong nuclear deterrent with 24 Trident II D5 nuclear missiles. These things, if you want to know the power of them, I was recently trying to figure out, okay, there have been different nuclear detonations throughout human history to see what it was. There was Hiroshima, there was Nagasaki, there was other nuclear detonations. I think the last one ever here on that was ever recorded here on Earth openly, apart from North Korea recently, within the last few years. I detected that one on an earthquake app because I thought it was weird that North Korea was having earthquakes in a non-fault line zone till the next day the news came out and the State Department said, we suspect North Korea has detonated an underground nuke. I was like, well, no, don't suspect it. I'm pretty sure they did. But the last actual one that was confirmed and real was the Tsar Bomba. That was the Russian thermonuclear bomb that went off, and it was the largest one ever recorded in human history. And it actually, it changed it actually had the effect of changing the trajectory of the Earth by just a micron of a second, the time difference. I don't know the exact details of it because it goes hardcore into things I usually don't dive into. But ultimately, what I'm trying to point out here is these new nuclear missiles, these new Trident II D5 nuclear missiles, are 20 times stronger than the Russian Tsar Bomba. This is terrifying. We're taking a nuclear submarine with nuclear warheads, which at least we can presume that's the case, and we're sending them to Iran. It's somewhere in the Middle East. As a deterrent. You're bringing nukes in? I thought the idea was that we don't do it, but here's what I was thinking. I don't think Iran's going to care that we bring nukes into the region. I really don't. The reason being is they know us pretty darn well. They know that we're not going to use nukes, that we only threaten to use nukes. We're threatening. We're putting on a mean growly face. We're growling like a mean pit bull or whatever dog. Our bark is really loud, but our bite is toothless when it comes down to this. We're not going to launch those nukes. We launch the nukes, God help us all. I mean, they may detonate in the Middle East, but we're going to feel it over here. It's going to have an effect over here. It's going to be devastating. So they know we're not going to do it. So I'm going, where I'm not seeing the whole picture here. But I'm going, why are we using that? So, although this move in the U.S. might want to send this is what the article states. Although this move, the U.S. might want to send a clear message to Iranian proxies in the region who have a late issue threats of wider conflict in the area if the Jewish nation fails to roll back the ongoing assault on Gaza. Well, if you didn't go in and murder rabid, savage animals, Jewish people who are just civilians, they wouldn't be invading Gaza, now would they? The gall of these people half the time. The U.S. has already witnessed low-level attack on its assets in Iraq and Syria. Clearly, Washington, D.C. looked in no mood to let Iranian proxies have their way in the conflict. So we sent nukes. Okay. Not necessarily my first choice. I honestly would probably do a Donald Trump thing. Right, send Tomahawk missiles and start blowing up some of their bases, really knocking some out, and even targeting the leaders and bombing their homes, killing them. That would be clear because you want to punch them so they know what it's like to be punched and they know you're serious and it hurts a lot. But I wouldn't be threatening nukes unless they had nukes themselves and they're getting ready to launch said nukes, because then we can say you launch them, we all die. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin had earlier announced that his notion would be reinforcing its security assets in the Middle East and also Israel. Austin said on Sunday that the U.S. was committed to deterring, quote, any state or non-state actor seeking to escalate this conflict, end quote. A clear reference to Iran and Hezbollah and the Iran-backed armed groups. The U.S. has already developed a number of other Navy assets in the area, including 2 carrier strike groups, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group and the USS General Art Ford Carrier Strike Group as an amphibious ready group. The new submarine that arrives in the region Sunday, which has not been named yet, will further solidify U.S. defensive shield. On October 2022, the U.S. made public a ballistic missile submarine in the Middle East with the command of U.S. Central Command. With the commander of the U.S. Central Command, General Michael Eric Kurla. I'm butchering his last name. Board at the USS West Virginia. His visit occurred at a, quote, undisclosed location at sea in international waters, end quote, Central Command said at the time. What I'm noticing is when we send nuclear warheads overseas, and it might be carrying nuclear warheads, I'm going to assume it is, that they're making this kind of announcement, that they think it's going to escalate. My question is, do they believe that it's going to escalate to the point of nuclear war? I hate to say it that way, but I really think if you're bringing a nuclear armed submarine to what it looks like a gunfight, and you're expecting something big to happen out of it. So we will see what else is going to take place, because honestly, I don't quite know yet, and they're not releasing any more information. I know that this is still very tense-filled. There's still a lot of stuff going on. But, you know, I'm going to keep up to date with you guys, let you know what's going on. Take a look at the news yourselves and confirm everything. And we'll go from there. So, until next time, we meet again. May God richly bless you all, my dearly beloved